It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting and Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Make sure you donate a fan today. Man, I tell you, if there was any weekend this 33-year-old guy could have used a fan, 5 fans blowing on him, it would have been Thursday night as I was pit reporting for the prelude to the Silver Dollar Nationals, and it would have been Friday and Saturday night as I was watching the Silver Dollar Nationals. I completely understand where Joe's Karting and where Creative Element is going with this whole event, with trying to get as many fans donated to them as possible for the elderly, because, I mean, as semi-healthy as I am, it was just so hard to stay cool this weekend.
Yeah, if you could have mounted one of those fans on your head, it would have been real nice.
The idea is to get 100 fans donated by the end of July, so that way they can donate it to the Salvation Army, which will then in turn donate it to elderly in the area that just need to have a breeze put on them, because they, with their fixed income, they can't afford a massive electrical bill. I am really worried to see what mine's going to be like in July. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. And it happens every July. I mean, you can almost guarantee it. You can guarantee that the Silver Dollar Nationals is going to be a good race. It's going to be hot at the Silver Dollar Nationals, and that you're going to have a big air conditioning bill. And Joe's Karting is trying to help out. You can get more information. Find the link on the Front Stretch Facebook page. We'll put that up there again so that it's easy to find. You can go to joeskarting.com. But the easiest thing is go to Amazon. I did it on Friday. I ordered myself a new fan. It'll be here probably on Monday or Tuesday. And it's just a simple box fan. I think I got one for $17.99 or something like that. I mean, it was ridiculously cheap. And with my Prime membership, I had it shipped right to me. It'll be here in a couple of days. I'm going to take it out to Joe's Karting, and that'll be one more fan towards the kitty that they're trying to get those 100 fans. So please, please, please do whatever you can. Help out with the elderly, and they're going to need it. Who knows what August is going to be like, but memory serves that it's always hot. We've got a big show lined up for you today. Turn number 1, we are going to talk about New Hampshire, our thoughts on that, and the penalties that came from the New Hampshire 301. Turn number 2, we've got some race audio from the Silver Dollar Nationals last night at I-80 Speedway. Turn number 3, we'll do interviews from the top 5 finishers of the Silver Dollar Nationals in the Lucas Oil Late Models. And in turn number 4, we will preview the Brickyard 400 today at 2 o'clock on NBCSN. So we've got a big show lined up for you today. As always, we always do appreciate you guys joining us and tuning in for a little bit of racing action. Let's kick things off with the New Hampshire 301. And, despite how good of a car Matt Kenseth had, and I believe even Martin Truex Jr. had a really solid car early in the day, I apologize. My memory of 7 days ago is pretty hazy, so I'm trying to remember this from a while ago. But you have always talked about, Dirk, how a lot of the times the problem with watching NASCAR on TV is that you only see what the screen shows you, and they have an obligation to show the front pack, the front couple of guys, and you don't get to see the racing action in the back. I thought NBC did a very good job of showing a lot of the battles throughout the field, and I felt like there was a lot of really good battling going on.
Well, there always is, but you can't, even if you're at the track and you can pick where you want to watch, you still can't watch the whole thing. Mm-hmm. That's the bad part about it. But the race was dominated at certain times, Kyle Busch was very fast and, led a ton of laps. As you said, Martin Truex Jr. did the same thing. So while those guys are out there with a 2 or 3 second lead, there's no sense in watching them. You got to go find where the action is. And they did a pretty good job, like you said, of showing that stuff. And a lot of passing. And then towards the end, a lot of wrecking. But
yeah, it was kind of funny because you didn't have many cautions early on in that race, and it was going by fast. And then all of a sudden, just like the old saying goes, cautions breed cautions, and they were thick as thieves. It seemed like every time they had a restart, somebody didn't get going, and there'd be an accordion effect, and then all of a sudden you'd have a cut tire, you'd have a crunched fender, and somebody'd be in the wall within a lap and a half, 2 laps.
Yeah, and as the race progressed, I mean, again, you saw the swings as the track would change, as the temperature was changing. One guy'd get real fast, and then another guy, and then when you got towards the end, you saw Denny Hamlin take the big chance and try and get things, just try and shake it up. I mean, he's in the chase, so he didn't have to worry about racing for points or anything. So the only way he was going to win the race was to stay out, and he gave it a shot, and nobody else stayed with him. So.
And he sunk, man, so fast that he sank like a rock.
Well, not the first restart. If they wouldn't have had more than one restart, he'd have run second.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's talk about the top 10. Matt Kenseth got the win. Tony Stewart, second place. Good second place for Tony Stewart. And Smoke fans were very excited about that all over Facebook about his second place finish at New Hampshire. Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, and Greg Biffle round out the top 10. Jamie McMurray, Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. round out your top 10. Started to go off there into the 11th place spot of Ryan Blaney. Guys who had a bad day, let's see, big guys. Chase Elliott finished 34th. Mostly that, though. Casey Kane, 25th. Clint Bowyer continues to struggle. Boy, poor Clint, he can't wait for this season to get over with. Kurt Busch, 22nd. Carl Edwards, 20th. AJ Allmendinger, 21st. So a lot of drivers, your typical drivers, were up in the top 20 like you typically see.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Let's talk about the rules infraction that Matt Kenseth was hit with. So his car failed post-race inspection, and that was the new laser system. And you've seen it at the track with being at Kansas and Iowa. Can you kind of talk about it a little bit?
Well, I don't know specifically what he failed,
That's something that brought up a lot of question. I know some of the NASCAR shows that I watched was, why you talked about it, how when somebody back in the day used to violate, used to break the rules and NASCAR would catch them. And I want to say cheating because sometimes it's not cheating. It's just they were trying something new and it was a gray area in the rule book and NASCAR pinned them for it. But they used to put the part on display for all teams to see. I've begun my own little theory that I think they stopped doing that because when teams could see where other teams got caught, then they'll find ways to not get caught.
With that particular issue. Right.
And so it helps them to kind of – it makes it harder for NASCAR to police that stuff. You see it every day in the dirt track world. I talked to a couple of the dirt track guys around the area about why don't we get more specifics on why this guy was DQ'd or that, and they say, well, because that's our way of making sure they don't find a new way around the rule and continue to skirt what we're trying to do.
Well, I mean, you give as much information as you can. If a motor's got too many cubic inches, that's what you say. Yeah. You don't say, well, the stroke was too long or the bore was too big. You just say the cubic inches was over the maximum allowed. Just as, we've been trying to find out particulars on the tire deal, with these ump drivers from everybody from Eldora there a couple of weeks ago, which those guys were, running last night at I-80 Speedway, a majority of them anyway. But we still don't know the particulars of it's just the tire just didn't meet the specs of the manufacturer.
Yeah, and they're not going to give the particulars. That's going to be something that they're going to keep very close to them because once they tell people how they found it or what they found, then people are going to be able to understand what these guys were doing, and they're going to tweak it a little bit to not get caught.
Well, they're going to try to.
Yeah.
Whether they'll be able to or not is a whole other story.
So back to Matt Kenseth's issue, he failed a post-race laser inspection, and that's basically just where they put the car on a rig, and it's got to meet this certain template. And there's variances. They give for a certain amount.
Yeah, see, again, the laser station wasn't there when I was doing it, so I'm not exactly sure how much they give. I mean, there's parts underneath in the chassis of the car. That's when NASCAR developed the car tomorrow and some of that stuff, they've got these points in there that these lasers have to hit, these sensors. And I can't imagine that sensor being like much bigger than a button for your shirt.
Yeah.
So if there's tolerance, you're talking a 16th to an eighth of an inch,
Yeah, and I say tolerance because these cars, when they roll out on the starting grid, they're almost completely different from when they get done with the end of the race. Especially, if you're talking about a car that it doesn't get into a fender bender, which is tough. They don't lean
Especially
on anybody.
on a short track.
They don't rub at each other. They don't scrape the wall. You're talking about a pristine car. Even then, just the heat that cycles through the car will expand and contract. And so NASCAR's got to understand, is probably figuring for a little bit of that. But either way, Matt's car failed post-race inspection, and then it was sent back to the R&D department, and his team was levied with a P3 penalty. And I started really looking into those P3 penalties and the penalty system again, just kind of rehashing my memory on that stuff and how the whole system works. And that allows for a range of penalties for NASCAR to basically kind of look at it and say, okay, we felt like it was a mistake, is what I read from the rule, because he was fined 15 championship points, driver points, and the crew chief was fined $25,000, but not placed on probation, which it was well within NASCAR's ability to place him on probation, and that tells me they felt like this was just either an accident or a pushing of the variance for the measurements.
Well, I figure when they didn't get into the probation that, along with, you can use the term accident, which I don't think when you're talking crew chiefs, I don't think there's any such thing as an accident. They're pretty deliberate people, but I just think that whatever got out of skew wasn't a big advantage. So, they're saying it didn't help them win, didn't make a difference. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, that's kind of where I wanted to take this next conversation. And honestly, I'd love to get some opinions from fans out there. So 402-573-0590. I'd love to hear you guys chime in about the penalty process that went through with this. And a lot of people were talking about NASCAR should have taken Matt's win away. Because in the dirt world, if you fail post-race inspection, you lose the win, regardless.
Well, you lose your position. You're just done. No points, no money.
Right, you're DQ'd. You don't
like you didn't in there.
Right, you weren't even, unless you were Jesse Sobbing in Harlan a couple of years ago when they DQ'd him, but then they took it back and black flagged him. But anyways, little dig there. Yeah. Anyways, And I'm strongly against that. I think dirt track has the right mind where if you get DQ'd, you lose the win. But then again, it's automatic capital punishment as far as I'm concerned. And losing that win for a lot of people can be detrimental to their season. And it could be the same thing for NASCAR. Now, when NASCAR switched to the chase system a couple of years ago, wins became much, much more important. Mm-hmm. Not only with qualifying for the chase with our current system, but also receiving bonus points when the chase starts. So those wins don't just get you extra points from everybody else. They get you into the postseason, and then they continue to reward you that first round with some bonus points. I think there's areas that you could say we should take that win away. And that's when you can definitively say that this violation was a performance enhancement. But a lot of these times, and I want to go back to Kansas a couple of years ago when Matt was fined for having an illegal engine. In that case, I think NASCAR could have taken the win away. But when you really looked at the situation, it was a Toyota Racing Development engine, and it was what most engineers I heard say was not a performance enhancing. It was a performance hindering issue. And so they shouldn't have taken the win away. And thankfully they didn't. NASCAR has a long practice of not taking wins away. And I want to get your thoughts on, do you think it's time they change that?
Well, in this case, whether Matt's got the win or not doesn't make any difference. If it goes to Tony, it gives Tony 2 wins, at second place, and he was deemed legal. But Matt's got to win, so he's already in the chase. So at that point, it's irrelevant. If he had no wins, and this was going to be his first win, then taking away that win is a huge thing.
Well, there's a lot of conversation out there that if NASCAR doesn't start taking away wins, drivers and teams are going to start cheating on purpose to get the win. And honestly, the 40, I think he got 43 or 40. He got 44 points on the day because he won the race plus bonus points for winning the race and leading a lap. Those points, frankly, don't matter much since he has a win.
in the until the chase starts.
Right.
And it's back where the points matter.
Right. Then they all get reset to 2,000 points plus a bonus point for their 2 wins. So Matt will be at 2,006 points if we started the chase today. I think the argument is that if somebody like A.J. Allmendinger, who's starving for a win, needs to get into the post race, doesn't have anything to lose, I might as well cheat the living bejesus out of my system and go out there and win the race and fail post-race inspection because they'll take the points away, but I'll still qualify for the chase.
But you've got to pass pre-race inspection.
True. Well, I mean, they know how to do that, though. I mean, these guys are getting pretty good at knowing how to set the car to where when they're pushing it onto the grid, it doesn't change any. But then once it gets out there and the first time it hits the corner and hits the pavement or whatever, those things break loose and the car works their way. They found that stuff before, too.
Well, yeah, but normally they find that stuff in the pre-race inspection, not afterwards. You know, so
yeah.
Like I said, you've got to pass a pre-race inspection. That car is going to be inspected before it ever goes out for practice. It's going to be inspected before qualifying, and it's going to be inspected before the race.
So I'm getting the idea that you're fine with NASCAR not taking race wins away.
No, I totally believe they ought to take them away.
Okay.
I believe if you cheat, it's like you didn't even show up.
Yeah.
You know,
but then to the point of that it's going to have to be a judgment call, right? Where you can't just say anybody that fails post-race inspection that won the race loses the win.
If they're going to say that you were illegal, then they should take it away. Truck race in Kansas Speedway, 2003, 2004, something like that. Carl Edwards got involved and banged the wall really hard, I think the very first lap of the race. Bent an A-frame and a spindle on the right front. Went on to win the race. But when he came in, he couldn't pass minimum heights and a whole bunch of stuff because the whole right front was just mangled. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not something he set out to do. You know, you don't go out and, that's the first lap. I'll see if I can hit the wall and make my truck faster, you know. So,
if anything, you're like Jimmy Johnson and you hit the wall during your victory spin out.
Well, there you go. Now, see, that's a whole other ballgame. But, you know, Carl obviously didn't do it, so he was not disqualified. He was not fined or anything. Mm-hmm. You know, basically, it was something that NASCAR knew and nobody else did.
Yeah.
Because it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. You know, but when you're going to be given a P3 penalty, you know, and you're going to be fined and docked points, you've done something wrong. Mm-hmm. So why not dock them all the points and take the win away?
Well, and the penalty bracket system is set up to where NASCAR is able to kind of, through the penalty grid, relay a message of how they felt it was. The P5 penalty and the P6 penalty both allow for NASCAR to take away the points, or what was the phrasing? The reward of the finishing position.
Correct.
So that basically means any of the bonus points, any of the points, and any of the win that comes with that finishing first. So NASCAR does have the option to do that. And I think that there may be a point someday when if they catch somebody blatantly cheating, and I want to go back to like Michael Waltrip Racing at Daytona a few years ago when they found, the gel that was in the exhaust manifolds.
Intake manifolds. Yeah.
And it was reminiscent of a fuel additive that makes the car, the engines burn a little more. And so that's kind of one of those things that I'm always the guy who gives the benefit of the doubt, and I say, well, what are the possibilities that this was a mistake? You know, like we talked about those days when the five guys from the 100 were caught with the Dream were caught with the tires that you were just talking about from the UMP race, and I said, well, and we tried to talk with Ben Shelton and say, what are the chances this was a mistake, either with these guys or with the manufacturing process? Because I always like to give the benefit of the doubt, even though I know, I mean, as you as a tech official, you're the opposite. It's what you've been trained to do. You're always scrupulous. You're always trying to find it. But and so I think that in this case with Matt, it was just one of those things that I think there's too many variables that could have been outside of what the team did. And so I don't think and so he passed pre-race inspection. Something happened out there on that track that made it outside of tolerance. And so for NASCAR to police these teams from saying, well, it happened on the track. They had to penalize Matt.
Well, it could have been track bar adjustments.
Yeah.
You know, that were made during the race, might have taken the car out of skew, something like that. And again, just depending on how far out it was, you know, boy, he went a half a turn too far on the track bar. Is that what it was, or was it something else? But the last time I can think of that NASCAR did anything close to like a P6 penalty, maybe 10 years ago, roughly, they got Johnny Sauter was driving for James Finch in the Yellow Freight #1 in the then Busch race in Texas, and was deemed to have an illegal carburetor at the end of the race. Now, that was something, an official actually ended up getting fired over that. But, they completely took him out of the race. No money, no points, no nothing. It's like he wasn't even there. They only scored 42 cars that race.
Okay. So there is times when NASCAR will lower the hammer and say, this is pretty cut and dry, that you were cheating here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the last time I can think of. And he had run, I'm going to say a top 10, 7th or 8th, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was roughly 10 years ago.
So Matt Kenseth keeps the win. He has docked points from the win. I believe he ended up losing 15 championship driver points and 15 championship owner points, along with crew chief Jason Ratcliffe was fined $25,000, not placed on probation. That's important. I think that's important to point out, because I think that, again, like I said just a little bit ago, I think that tells the tale that NASCAR didn't feel like this was something that Matt or the team did on purpose, but they had to find them and they had to penalize them. And honestly, a 15-point penalty for the championship driver points, that doesn't mean anything right now.
Absolutely not.
He's got 2 wins. He's in the chase. Once we go to the first race of the chase, he's going to be at 2,006 points regardless of this penalty or not. So I don't think that matters much of anything. All right, we're going to take a break. I don't know if you noticed, but the Silver Dollar Nationals wrapped up last night.
Are you sure?
This morning, 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago. We've got a lot of race audio. We've got play-by-play. We've got so much more to get to here on the front stretch. We'll be back here in just a little bit on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Dan and Dirk are rolling into turn 2 with a little attitude on the front stretch.
Oh, we got plenty of attitude for you today. Dirk's sending me love messages. It's been a late night. I tell you, this has been probably the best 3 days of the year for me. Thursday night was the prelude to the Silver Dollar Nationals. I got to do pit reporting with Stan Caesar and Anthony Ainsley up in the booth, calling the races, and I hit my goal. I was trying to hit 15,000 steps with my Fitbit pedometer on Thursday night. I started the race with 4,500 just from working that day, and ended up getting a total of 17,700 steps that night, and my feet still feel it. I've got 3 blisters on 3 different toes. My hip doesn't feel quite right, and my feet are throbbing.
Well, people, unless you've done it a lot, you don't know what it's like to walk on that uneven surface for miles.
I honestly, Dirk, I felt so dumb about 30 different times, and I felt like a teenage girl wearing high heels for the first time so many times, walking through those pits. These tennis shoes, no high heels whatsoever. They've got plenty of space. I twisted ankles so many times. Just they rolled over, and I'm thinking, is this my first time walking? Why can't I get this right?
Well, I mean, you just step on a dirt clod that came off a car or something. Believe me, I've done it a million times, and my feet actually just get sore. I don't blister up or anything, and I'm not doing 17,000 steps, believe me, but my feet are still sore yet right now after walking around on that last night.
Action from Thursday night's races. There was unsanctioned B modified. The A feature saw Mark Lighting get out to the lead really quickly and hold on to it for quite a while. But the young Jacob Hobscheit in the 01 out of Plattsmouth, this kid has been so close so many times out of I-80 Speedway with getting the win. He's been very successful at Corning between him and Ryan Jenkins. They've owned that track this year. But Jacob just had this monkey on his back. He could not get all the chips to lay down in the right order for him to be able to get the win at I-80 Speedway, at least for the NASCAR Weekly Racing action. And in any race, he hadn't won at I-80 Speedway yet. He's had several wins under his belt. In the last lap, the last corner, he finally got Mark Lighting and got by him for the win. A very emotional win for him. He was really excited in victory lane later that night. And so congratulations to him on getting his first win at I-80 Speedway, at least in the B Modifieds. Your SLMR Series race saw one big surprise. Jesse Sobbing rolls out for the feature event in a Jay Burdick, MalvernBank.com, number 99 late model. And something that they were keeping pretty secretive. Luke sent me a text and said, sent me some pictures, said this should be rolling out for the Silver Dollar Nationals, but keep it under wraps for me. I don't know why he does that to me. Well, he sends me that kind of information all the time, and then he tells me I can't say anything about it.
That wasn't the debut of the car, though. He had driven a car with the Banks backing 2 or 3 SLMR races ago, but I don't remember where it was. I just remembered reading it in the results, and then I did a little digging.
Okay, it was the debut for that specific car, though. That was a brand new car.
Okay, well, that could be, but I mean, for the combination for him to be in a late model in that series had already happened.
And I didn't realize that because I thought I talked to Anthony Ainsley, and he said that he hadn't raced an SLMR race. Now, Jesse had raced several late model races last year throughout the year in various cars, but I to my knowledge, he hadn't raced this year. But I think we know. I think we know our record between me trying to challenge you with information. So I'll concede that one. But Kyle Burke walked away with the win. I guess I shouldn't say walked away with the win. He had a comfortable lead, but I was really impressed. Jesse Sobbing comes home in second, and he had a very strong car, very strong race, and I was very impressed with the way he was able to hold up with Kyle Burke.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go out that night because of the heat. I was trying to save myself, being an old man that I am. I mean, just the one night this year was real rough. Because I don't get to drink the fluids that you guys get to drink. So
that's true.
For me, it's a little bit different deal. But, I mean, it sounded like it was a real good race, and everybody that was talking about it, said that it was fun to watch. So.
In a tremendous sprint car feature for the Carpenter, Nebraska 360s. Listen to some of these names that was in town. Jack Dover, Brian Brown, Terry McCarl, Seth Bramer, Danny Lasowski, Tyler Drucke, Cody Ledger, Don Droud Jr., Joey Danley. Let's see. And I believe there was about 35 sprint cars on hand in all. And 24 of them roll out for the feature. Jack Dover starts outside pole, with Seth Bramer starting on the pole position. Didn't take long for Jack to get the lead, and he walks away with the win. But it kind of felt like it was going to be a little bit of a challenge for him after if this race would have gone another 5, maybe 10 laps, as Brian Brown and Terry McCarl were both catching him slow and steady.
Yeah, again, without being there, I really don't have a comment
That's
on that.
True.
But, I mean, I saw that Jack won, and I knew he was starting next to Bramer.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to keep up with as much of that stuff as I could. But I mean, you put Jack on the front row at I-80, and I don't care what you're driving, you might as well just notch it up.
And I believe he went 3 for 3 this weekend, winning Thursday night at I-80 Speedway, winning Friday night at Crawford County Speedway, winning last night in the Race Saver 305 at Eagle Raceway, and he's trying to make it 4 for 4. I think he's racing tonight, and I can't remember where they said he was racing.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I did know he was in the feature at Eagle. I hadn't seen any results. But
clearly it's time to get Jack back in the studio and talk about what's changed. Because we've talked about a couple of times, he struggled mightily at the beginning of the year. Well,
it's going to be tough to do that because he's in a busy stretch right now.
Yeah.
He's got the 305 or the 360s Nats coming up at Knoxville.
Yeah, that's just a couple of weeks away now, isn't it? I
don't know if he's got a 410 ride yet or not for Knoxville. He's in a busy stretch, so getting him in here will be a little tough for a while.
So that was Thursday night. Then Friday night was double heats. Actually, it was about 25 heat races and one last chance qualifier to set up Saturday night's feature. And Saturday night's final USMTS, we're going to kind of skip ahead with some of the racing action as we're going a little bit long in the show. But the final few laps of the Bryce Hall had the call for the final USMTS laps. And, Rodney Sanders has won the last 6 USMTS events. Well, this was before this. Thanks for jumping to the end of the movie for me there. But he won the last 6 events at I-80 Speedway for the Silver Dollar Nationals, and he's just dominant. But I kind of sensed a little chink in the armor as far as the finishers went, because he didn't whoop the field like he's done in the past.
Well, and the weird part is he started on the front row, which normally he doesn't do. He normally starts the 3rd, 4th row and then passes everybody and walks away. But, I mean, he had a pretty good lead on a couple occasions, but he usually had somebody 2 or 3 car lengths back stalking him down, and then he actually got passed. There
was quite a few cautions throughout this race that kind of brought the field back to it, so maybe that's where I'm getting he didn't have the opportunity to walk away with the win, but Rodney Sanders. Actually, let's just get to the call. And again, Bryce Hall has this call for the final USMTS laps.
The field goes storming off into turns 1 and 2. Jason Crone going to try to slide up to take Sanders' line. He can't clear by Sanders. Sanders gets loose on exit of turn number 2. Crone will get his nose up underneath the fuel cell. The 20 of Sanders. That happened coming off of turn number 2. They're going to be door-to-door working off of turn number 4. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for the 20 of Sanders. One more trip around the 20 of Rodney Sanders, trying to hang on over Jason Crone into the final set of corners. Off of turn number 4, he will make it 4 years in a row. The 20 of Rodney Sanders, your Silver Dollar Nationals winner.
And so Jason Crone really gave him a run for his money.
Well, Jason Crone was upset about something because I was back by the scales, and Crone went across the scales first, and as Rodney come up, he hadn't even got the scales yet. Crone was in his ear. He was in the car window, and a lot of motion, so they must have been doing some banging that I couldn't see from my vantage point because he was really upset about something.
Yeah. Cade Dillard comes home 3rd, Johnny Scott 4th, Terry Phillips 5th. A great race, but they got to do something about Rodney Sanders.
What are you going to do?
Put him in the back.
I mean,
start him in the back.
They're deeming his car legal.
Yeah.
And this year he qualified well. I mean, he ran good evidently in the 2 heat races, so he got his, started on the front roll. So
Ben Shelton sat down with him in victory lane moments later and had this conversation with him.
Rodney, how about that Jason Crone guy? Man, he made it more than exciting. You really had to work for it there at the end.
Yeah, I did. I was starting to, slide up a little bit, and I saw him on the bottom, and then I started sliding more and more, and I was just trying to protect the slider more than anything, and then he went by me. I thought, well, I better know if the top was going to burn up my stuff, but at that point, I didn't really have nothing to lose.
What goes through your mind when those cautions keep? Well, the one caution got you back to the lead, but within the cautions come with 5 laps to go, 2 laps to go. What's going through your mind?
Man, I was nervous. I mean, the corners are so wide here, and then you leave that bottom open, and someone can slide you. But I was definitely faster on the top, but, once I got momentum, it was all right. But I was kind of worried on turn 1 after the restart.
So much competition, such a great racetrack. What does it mean to know that now 7 events in a row, 4 Silver Dollar Nationals, you have swept the action here?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, the track was a little bit muddy tonight, but you can still race all over it. And, this is probably one of my favorite races. And, it's just I love coming here. This track is so awesome. And, I couldn't do it with all the help from, all the guys that helped me. I mean, Wichita Tank Racing, our hauler broke down this week. And, he was nice enough to let us use his. And, S&S Fishing and Rental. Just Jimmy and the guys at MB Custom. Randy Timms, Western Flyer, my crew. I mean, there's just the list goes on and on. Couldn't do it without them.
Well, what do you say you get a few pictures taken, then you go get in your late model and you chase 40,000 here tonight?
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
What do you got to say to all the fans that were rooting for you?
I just got to say, thanks for coming out. I know it's been really hot this week, but it was a lot of fun.
And so Rodney Sanders doesn't end up getting the win, and I forgot as they were talking about that Jason Crone did end up getting the lead away from him after one of those restarts, and kind of felt like a little while that Rodney was going to start falling back, but then had another caution came out, and Rodney had a great restart. He was able to wrestle the lead back away.
Yeah, I mean, I think he didn't have the lead for 2 laps, I think is what it was when that caution come out, because Crone had started to walk on him. I mean, Crone put him 5 or 6 car lengths down in that little bit of time, and who knows what would have happened.
Now we go to our Lucas Oil late model laps. Trenton Berry and James Essex had the call, and just for saving a little bit of time, and honestly, if you missed the race, go to dirtondirt.com and watch this race again. There was a lot of really good racing throughout the field. There was cautions, so there was plenty of restarts. I think we had cautions about every 10 or 15 laps, give or take a little bit here and there, but it was a really good, solid race. So I just grabbed the last couple of laps to kind of recap the action, but here's James Essex and Trenton Berry with the final 2 laps for the Lucas Oil late model.
Who's going to talk to Ben Shelton, the top 3 after this in Lucas Oil victory lane? JD out of turn 4, back underway at I-80. Billy Moyer now tries to middle, and remember, JD's got to keep it off the wall. He does. Here comes Shannon Babb digging on the bottom. Down the back straightaway, McCready, Shepard. Brandon Shepard up to the top. He's got it rolling out of turn 4, but the white flag is out. 1 to go. Shepard goes to 3rd. Shepard to 3rd. Out of turn number 2, JD. Clean and green down the back straightaway. 2 turns to go here at I-80 for $40,000. Billy Moyer, 1 last shot. Jonathan Davenport wins at I-80 the Silver Dollar Nationals. Billy Moyer 2nd, Shepard 3rd, McCready 4th. At the line, Pearson 5th, Babb 6th, Bloomquist 7th, Eckridge 8th, Landers 9th, 10th O'Neill.
First off, if I've ever got to watch paint dry, I am going to hire James Essex to announce it. Because that guy could make about anything sound interesting. And honestly, that wasn't a hard race to call, to make sound interesting, because there was a lot of action like I was just talking about. Jonathan Davenport did kind of walk away with that late in that race, but the battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th between Moyer, Shepard, McCready, Pearson, Babb, and had they gone a little bit longer, I'm going to take that back, but those guys were 3 wide, 4 wide. I mean, they were going all over the place.
Yeah, 2nd through 6th, there was a lot of jockeying going around. I mean, if you'd have been watching it on TV, you'd have been seeing the numbers change for those positions back and forth like crazy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my man crush Scott Bloomquist just really didn't have a car, didn't have much of a fighting chance. He started, I think 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th row. I think he was 3rd row.
I was going to say 3rd or 4th row.
And as soon as the green flag dropped, he dropped right with it and just started falling back.
Yeah, he dropped back to about 12th and then started picking them off. And I'm not sure if he cut a tire down. He did pit twice.
Yep.
And so he had to go to the back. So he went to the back the first time, and in a real short run of like 6 or 7 laps and then another caution, he went up to, I want to say 17th, got his way back up into, I think, 11th, and then pitted again.
Yeah. I think he was just having adjustment. I think they were just making adjustments to that car.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was cutting down tires because there were a lot of tire issues. There were a lot of guys. Well, I don't remember the particular car, but the guy that was leading
23.
No, I want to say it was number 5 was leading the last chance race with the $5,000 to win with the option to move up, and he led the whole race. And on lap 14 or something, blew the left rear.
They were having a lot of debris issues last night. I don't know if I got to sit in the booth and I had the race officials radio going, and they were out there cleaning up debris almost every caution, whether the caution was for the debris or not. And I mean, between bars and tire chunks and fenders, and I mean, there was just a lot of debris on the track that night. So maybe that was what was leading to a lot of these tire issues. But so yeah, Scotty didn't do a very good job. A rough night for him, but you won't keep him down for very long. And I was really surprised about that. We'll recap more about Scott, and we'll get interviews with the top 5 coming back here in turn number 3. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
My kind of road trip is a little different. Sure, it's got hours of driving with plenty of pit stops, but it's not for minivans. And this drive is one journey that's all about the destination. This is my road trip. This is my Speedway. July 29th, experience the NASCAR K&N Pro Series Casey's General Stores 150, presented by Vatterott College. July 30th is the NASCAR Xfinity Series US Cellular 250. Tickets start at $15 only at Iowa Speedway.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
It's time to hear from the top 5 finishers for the Silver Dollar Nationals. Let's start off with Earl. Can we start again? Too bad
you
it's
could have started the interview last night again.
Boy, I've been struggling this weekend. I'm blaming it on the heat.
There you go.
Let's start with the top 5 finishers for the Silver Dollar Nationals. Earl Pearson finished 5th last night for the 6th annual Silver Dollar Nationals. We started off by asking him to talk about his night.
Well, I mean, it was kind of up and down there at the beginning. We kind of fell way back, probably, I don't know, maybe to 20th there. And, the restarts definitely was helping us. When we could start on the bottom, we could, momentum around that bottom and pick off a couple here and there. And late in the race, we had to start moving around, try to get by most of the guys that we could. And, a couple guys broke or had flat tires or whatever definitely helped us. But, all in all, the car wasn't that bad with Longhorn chassis and Lucas Oil Racing TV, Dunn Benson Ford. We're happy to be on the front straightaway here in the top 5. Look at this group here we just run with right here. I mean, best in the business. So we're happy with it.
Well, those last 10 laps, barring the restarts, it was a hornet's nest back there for 4th and 5th place, and a lot of slide jobs being traded and paint, and guys really kind of leaning on each other.
Well, when it gets down to 15 or 20 to go, it's time to go. And you got a slide job or do whatever you got to do. And on the restarts, I mean, that's when you can pick off 1 or 2. And when the track's this wide, you can do a lot of slide jobs and do what you got to do, but and not hit nobody. So it was good racing.
I saw you were just talking to Steve Kaziski about the track. What were you guys kind of trading some options about what to do next year?
Well, yeah, honestly, I mean, it's just so hot. And I was telling him I wish I would move it back a month, but it is what it is. Anywhere you go in the country right now, it's real hot. But they do a heck of a job. And I was kidding him on how they was watering the racetrack today. They had to pull the water truck around with another machine to water it. But, I mean, they do a heck of a job here. They got, heck, I don't know how many cars even here, 100-plus cars and 100-degree weather. And look what the track turned out to be.
$53,000 to win next year. Can we expect you back again?
Well, of course, we'll definitely be here. Like I say, we finished 5th this time. Maybe we can move up and get us that $53,000. But that's what these good promoters are doing, and all the fans are coming out and big crowds, and that's good. They put back into the sport.
Well, I forgot to mention they made a big announcement last night.
Yeah, you maybe forgot that.
Before we get to 4th place, Tim McCready, let's talk about that a little bit. James Essex put Joe Kaziski on the spot last night when they were doing the driver introductions for the Lucas Oil Late Models A feature. And he said, well, Joe, you going to up the purse again this year for next year like you've done the last couple of years? And Joe said, well, James, I'd love to, but I got to find the right sponsor. So if we could find the right sponsor, then we'd love to up it to $50,000. I'm not even kidding you. 10 minutes later, somebody contacted Joe, said, I'll give you the money. So they ended up donating this new, and I apologize, I don't know the name of the sponsor yet, but they donated $10,000. I-80 Speedway is going to match it with another $10,000, so they're adding $20,000 to the purse, and they're going to take this year's $40,000. They're going to up the winning purse to $50,000. And so everyone was, all excited about it. And then, like I said, I was listening on the race radio and the officials channel, and they started arguing back and forth. They said, Joe, if we're going to go to $50,000, we might as well go to $53,000 and honor Bob Kaziski. And Joe kind of came over and said, well, if we're going to go to 53, we got to go to 52 first because we need to honor the 52, which is a big number in our family too. Steve come across and said, that doesn't matter. 53 is the number in our family. That's what we need to honor. So a couple minutes later, they had another sponsor for another $3,000. So they've added more money to the pot. Next year's Lucas Oil Late Model A feature will pay $53,000 to win. Then about 45 minutes later in the night, Todd Staley from the USMTS comes over into the booth and says, guys, we picked up a new sponsor for the prize pool for the USMTS Casey's Cup here at the Silver Dollar Nationals for next year. We're going to pay $10,000 to win. So they've now added, I think I was talking to Lisa about it. She says if they're not over it, they are really close to a total $300,000 purse for the Silver Dollar Nationals.
Well, and it will literally depend on how many cars enter.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when they get down to your non-qualifiers, you get to a certain point and everybody's getting paid $400 or $500, something like that at a race. You know, probably $300 or $400 is where I should say. And if there's, you know, if they end up with 70 late models, you know, there's an extra $3-4 grand that they're going to end up putting together for the purse just to pay those guys in the back.
Yeah. So very good thing. And Trenton Berry was talking about it last night. He goes, you know, honestly, I think $40,000 is a good purse. You don't need to go out there and pay $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 because we had a 57 late models last night registered for the Silver Dollar Nationals for the Lucas Oil Late Model Feature event. And that's a heck of a turnout for the middle of July, as hot as it was. I was really concerned that we would have a low car count and a low crowd count, but thankfully, once again, I was wrong.
Well, the crowd showed up late. The crowd stayed away from the heat. Yeah. You know, they waited as long as they could. And, yeah, the place, you know, from my vantage point, the place looked pretty well packed.
All right, let's continue on with our Victory Lane interviews. Finishing fourth, Tim McCready. We asked him to talk about his night and how the track developed.
It was okay. Just had to chase the track a little. We were just to tick off from the get-go, comparable how we were last night, and I just kind of struggled. And I moved around as best I could. And a couple restarts, we made some hay, and I really thought we were going to at least have a shot at Billy to last restart. And Bab and I just got together, fighting for the same spot, and it cost both of us a little bit of money, but you know, but it is what it is. It's another fourth, so it's not terrible, but it's, you know, you get hungrier every night.
Looking back, what adjustments would you have made if you'd had the opportunity?
I'd probably just go back to more of what we ran last night. It is a whole new package this weekend, and it's just different. It's so different than what I would, and I don't understand it. You know, mechanically. So when you don't understand something, it's hard to you know what to do. And we made just a little wrong choice, and it just got me a little right rear, laying on the right rear too much, where I couldn't maneuver as good as I'd like to. But all in all, these guys, I mean, this is it. You ain't gonna find much better than what we had here tonight. So if a fourth is a night where I don't feel as good, that's a good thing for our Sweeteners car.
57 cars registered. You know, to get into fourth place. That's not bad.
No, not at all. Like I said, you look around, the talent's everywhere in this pit area, and that's just the way it goes.
Did you seem to have any problems with the tires at all? Some guys were, and they were getting out and having to change some tires. Did you have any problems?
No, I mean it was more. I think the guys that had problems were probably more chunking their tires because they're running hard and unbalanced. When your car's unbalanced, you overdrive to keep up, and you wear your stuff out faster, and that's probably what happened to, I would think, a lot of them. Our stuff's been pretty good on tires this year, so it's just a matter of stretching our runs out. I mean, we had a car that would only go about 30 laps last weekend before it started to fade, and tonight we went about 50. So it's we just got to keep plugging. We're a lot closer than it looks.
That was Tim McCready finishing fourth. Let's continue on. We sat down with third-place finisher Brandon Shepard. We started off by talking to him about how high he was running his car.
Oh, yeah, we had a really good car, and we could kind of maneuver where we needed to be, but up in the banking, up high on the track was where my car was the best at, and it's been really good there all weekend, and, we just had a really good car, and we can't say enough for it. If we wouldn't have broke a rear end last night, I think it wouldn't have made it as hard on us, but I guess we put on a show for the fans, so that's good.
Well, we always do appreciate it as the spectators and the fans of the sport of you guys putting on a little bit of a show. It's not very fun when somebody walks away with a win.
Oh yeah, it was definitely, this place is awesome. I-80 Speedway, it puts on a heck of a race. I've only been here twice, but both times it's been awesome, and we're looking forward to coming back again for sure.
$53 grand to win next year.
Oh yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
So looking back on it, what could you have changed differently? I know you said that had you not broken the rear end, you wouldn't have had to have made it so difficult on you, but could you have made any adjustments to your car late in that race to make it a little bit better?
Yeah, I think we could have made it a little bit better, but all in all, I think we had a really good car, and just getting a little bit better on restarts what we got to work on. So if we can get that better, we'll be good.
We got to take a quick break. We'll be back in turn number 4. We'll hear from Jonathan Davenport and Brandon Shepard here on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get too quick, the steak and lose.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
My kind of road trip is a little different. Sure, it's got hours of driving with plenty of pit stops, but it's not for minivans. And this drive is one journey that's all about the destination. This is my road trip. This is my Speedway. July 29th, experience the NASCAR K&N Pro Series Casey's General Stores 150, presented by Vatterott College. July 30th is the NASCAR Xfinity Series US Cellular 250. Tickets start at $15 only at Iowa Speedway.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Gonna have to do a quick one. We've got about 7 minutes left in the show. We sat down with second place finisher Billy Moyer.
Mr. Smooth.
Not Brandon Shepard. My bad. Billy Moyer talked about how his weekend went.
No, we didn't get much time Thursday and Friday. I mean, we run fourth in one heat and we won one heat, and and we started ninth. You know, I was hoping with the two finishes we would have started farther up, but the way the passing points were, they fell the way they did. But you know, we moved right up through the beginning of the race and got right up in the top three, you know, right away, and, you know, definitely happy with that. And then fell back a little bit on a couple of them restarts, just fighting our way back and forth. But, you know, overall, we're happy with second for sure.
When you rolled off the scales, you told Ben Shelton that this may be your last Silver Dollar Nationals. Coming this close, getting second place, and then them saying, well, we're going to pay $53,000 to win next year. Think maybe you could put one more Silver Dollar Nationals on your schedule?
It's not looking that way right now. I've had the same question asked to me at a lot of other places, you know, that pay a lot of money also, and it just you know, just a time when I know, you know, obviously we can still do it here pretty good, but there's just got to be a time that you just got to sit back and take it easy at you know, going on. I'm 58 years old, and all these young bucks out here, they're in their 20s, you know, 30s even. That I don't know, everything's good. I mean, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape, and I don't wear me out and stuff like that. But just, I know tomorrow my old bones will hurt a little bit, my neck and shoulders.
So you need a pep talk from Kenny Schrader, or what do you need from Mr. Schrader here?
Yeah, he we talk now and then, Schrader and me. He says, you know, you got to keep going, But I don't know. I'm pretty sure that,
you know, a body in motion stays in motion, though, Billy.
Well, for sure. You know, I know. You know, I had this knee surgery this winter, you know, and you know, missed the beginning of the year there, and I can definitely tell the difference. I think, again, in my younger days, I could not skip a beat and, you know, jump right in and go, but it just seemed like it took me a little bit more, especially physical part of it, you know, getting ready for it. You know, now I'm back where I need to be, and I feel fine in these longer races and everything, but it seemed like it took a little bit to get there after this knee surgery thing, and, you know, we just got to keep plugging away and try to get a couple of these big ones for the end of the year.
Let's talk about the race. Couple of restarts. You're really trying everything you could to get around Davenport there to maybe put a bumper to him and hold on to the win. Looking back on it now, is there anything you could have done differently?
Not drive-wise, I don't think there is. You know, if I could readjust my car a couple different ways, I definitely would have liked to try that. But you can't, of course. But we just kind of stuck with what we had, so we just had to stick it out. If he would have made a bad mistake, maybe I could have got him, but I didn't think he was going to do that. And, you know, at the end of the race, the track was pretty much topside dominant there, and he knew that, and he just stayed where he needed to be, and you know, there wasn't much on the bottom to be able to get by him.
Well, he actually said his car went away on the bottom, so he couldn't have gone down there. So he was just glad he could run up top. Yeah,
well, I think everybody's kind of did as the grip went away there on the bottom. You know, it just got so hard to get off the corner down there. So, you know, you just get up on top and your momentum keeps you going there. But he, you know, we was way tight at the end, and he was a little bit better getting in the corner than we was, and then he could get on the throttle a little bit sooner than we could and just make a better lap, but was close.
Billy Moyer coming home second place of the Silver Dollar Nationals. Congratulations.
All right, and that was, again, Billy Moyer. Thought I edited that out, but Jonathan Davenport was our winner on the night. He finally got the monkey off his back and won the Silver Dollar Nationals. We asked him about how hot it was that weekend. So we kind of kicked it off by asking him if he'd cooled down at all.
Oh, I'm still pretty warmed up right now. I think my suit weighs about 30 pounds. It's got so much sweat in it, but yeah, we're not quite used to this heat like it is out here. But it's it's definitely an awesome time.
Start of the race, it took you a little bit to get to the front, but once you got there, man, you had one heck of a car.
Yeah, we really did. I actually got to the front way faster than I thought we would, and on the bottom. The bottom was just come in there at the beginning, and I guess if you was out front, you really wouldn't know it. But yeah, I just followed Chris Simpson up through there, and we just kept picking cars off. Then we had that caution, and I knew it throwed a bunch of crumbs out there in the middle of the racetrack, and I kept rolling around under caution, and those things was packing in real nice, so I chose outside on restart, and I figured he was going to go to the bottom, so I was going to try to roll him right through the middle, and it worked out great for us. Obviously, your car was real balanced. I mean, you could run it high, you could run it low, picking through traffic. When we got into that rash of cautions there with about 15 to 20 laps to go, did you have any worries on those restarts? Yeah, I mean, you always have worries. You never know what's coming behind you, especially with this track changing so much. I really couldn't run the bottom late like I could early. Dennis about got by us there a couple times, but I try not to chop him off, run his line. I just tried to find me another one that was a little better. So yeah, you're always worried on those restarts, especially if you get out and get a little bit of a lead and a rhythm going.
You had a great race car last year. Late in the race, you had some unfortunate circumstances. Did any of that creep into your mind as you're rolling through those last restarts and those last laps?
No, not really. The past is the past. We moved on from that. I just knew I just got to be patient, hit my marks, get back in a rhythm. After I finally got rolling there and on the top, we took back off, and I almost forgot what I was doing up here in one. But, I just collected my thoughts and hit my marks, and we got it done.
Final thoughts on the weekend?
Oh, just from the penthouse. Really good. Like I said, we was terrible when we unloaded, but these guys really worked hard and gave me a great piece to work with tonight. Can we expect you back for 53K to win next year? I'll be the first one through the gate.
Dirk, we literally have 1 minute left. Give us your thoughts on the Silver Dollar Nationals.
Great race. A lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of drug there at the end, but ended up checkered flag flew about the same time as it did last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't think there were too many disappointed fans.
Yeah, it was a packed house. I was really impressed with the way the fans turned out despite the heat. I was really impressed with the car count the Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday night. It kind of restored my faith a little bit in dirt racing because it was getting to be a little tainted there with the struggles we've had. All right, all the action for today's race at the Brickyard 400 are on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Tomorrow, Quaker Steak and Lube is holding their their next touch truck event. It's a really cool event. Go to Quaker Steak and Lube, Council Bluffs, Iowa, on Facebook page for all the information. You can get some great information on there. I believe Jack Dover is going to be on hand with his sprint car. Kyle Busch starts on the pole today. You can send me your picks. The question I've been getting a lot of, can I pick Jeff Gordon if I've taken Earnhardt twice? The answer is absolutely yes, you can take
this
him.
This week or next week.
It doesn't matter because you're picking your driver. You're picking Jeff Gordon. You will receive all of the points that would be awarded to Jeff if he was a full point driver. I can't remember if they're going to give him points or not, honestly, but if they don't, I will calculate the points, and if you take Gordon and he's ineligible for points and they give him a big fat 0, then I'll give you the points.
They have to give him points because he's still in the running for an owner's championship.
True. All right, we'll do it again next weekend. We'll be live from Iowa Speedway. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks to Craig for running the buttons. We'll do it again next weekend. This has been The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.